Let's talk about global insights in athleisure trends. How is the segment growing? How its penetration is changing within overall clothing and the footwear segment? How leading fashion brands are responding to this trend? You saw a couple of examples on the screen during Saloni's presentation. And in this session, Sumit Chopra, Director of Research Analysis at Globaldata, is going to cover those trends and analyze the global clothing and footwear athleisure market, covering the key industry and consumer trends influencing Indian and global markets. Sumit?
A quick introduction. My name is Sumit Chopra. I work as Director of Research Analysis at Globaldata. The good thing is Saloni has covered quite a bit on athleisure in some form in her presentation. So it's kind of an extension which we'll do. In this session, it's a brief session, probably only have 10 minutes. I'll just cover key consumer trends, key market data, which is around the global athleisure market. What you would notice is the clothing market is growing quite phenomenally across the world. But within that, the athleisure segment is the fastest growing segment. And so again, you will see how consumers, how companies are targeting this segment. A quick introduction about Globaldata. It's one of the leading market intelligence firm based out of London. We have offices pretty much worldwide across all major locations. And we track 5 key verticals, which includes financial services, technology, telecom, and consumer, which covers retail, packaging, food service, and so on. So I won't dive into it much. But in case if anyone has any questions at the end, we can cover that separately. So what exactly is athleisure? Very straightforward. It's a merger of casual versus fitness. And I would actually say it's kind of an extension to the whole movement which is gaining around health, clean eating, clean beauty. It's about fitness in general. So anything which is related to a casual but also has an overlap with fitness is something what we really define as athleisure. What it means in terms of the overall market size, how does it stacks up globally? If you really look at it overall, globally, it's across all regions, it's totals around $400 billion right now of the total clothing and footwear market. The key stats being, if you really look at within all the region, Asia Pacific is one of the most fastest growing region in the world. So it has almost grown 82% over the last 4 or 5 years and is expected to almost double over the next, again, 4 to 5 years. So it's one of the most fastest growing segment. And why is that happening? If you really look at it, not many may have realized over the last 2, 3 years, but today, if you look at the Gen Z and the millennial as a population size, that's almost close to 60% of the global population. So that's a massive audience which you're targeting right now. And I think that's the audience which is driving this market quite substantially. China is playing its part. Saloni talked about India. That's going to grow very, very fast in this specific segment. If you look at it, how it is shaping up across the years, so again, as I said, probably around 400 billion in 2018, and expected to be around 570 billion by 2023. Interesting stats to look at, how does it segment across various segments within clothing and footwear. So if you really look at it, within the whole clothing segment, if you look at the athleisure segment, that is growing almost as close to 50% between 18 to 23. That's the fastest growing segment. And again, if companies are actively able to target this whole population of Gen Z and millennials, I would expect this 49% to exceed actually to close to 60, 65% over the next 4, 5 years. We talked about, okay, what's driving it. So obviously what we'll do is in the following slides, we'll cover 10 key trends. But before I do that, I think it's important to, again, re-emphasize the whole athleisure as a segment, obviously, is a clothing segment, it's a footwear segment, it's an apparel segment. But it's very, very much driven for this whole trend of health and fitness in general. And what we do as part of Globaldata is we conduct consumer surveys around the year where we speak to consumers understanding why they're buying a product, what are the consumption drivers, what are the behavioral issues which are driving this consumption. So if you really look at it, almost 86% of consumers consider exercising or improving physical fitness to be important in creating a feeling of well-being and wellness. So it's almost as close to 85, 86% and this is a global number. This is just not relevant to India, but in general, global number, which is conducted across 40 countries. Social media, as I said, Gen Z and millennial, massive population base, almost as close to a 60% is driving this whole growth. And they are selfie conscious, they are look conscious, and obviously that's something which they happily share. But at the same side, this whole popularity on Instagram and the whole popularity of following the bloggers and the fitness guru is gaining a popularity, which is also driving this change in terms of what they're buying, what they're wearing, whether it is in office, whether it is out of the office, whether it is gym. Again, what we'll do is we'll just look at what's driving these, what are the key 3-4 areas which are driving this change. So if you look at 64% of consumer proactively seek products which improve their health. So again, health is being the core focus. 68% feel concerned about looking and feeling old. So again, age is a factor, and clothing is one way which helps them erase that. 77% consider feeling physically attractive in creating a feeling of well-being or wellness. Again, so the whole point is, in the following slide, we'll talk about, I think, 7 to 8 trends. But the big base is health, fitness, which is really, really massively driving the whole market in general. And as I said, again, I've been speaking in a lot of conferences over the last 4 or 5 years, and the two topics which keeps coming up quite a lot is clean eating and clean packaging. The whole clean movement keeps coming up. And it's the same thing. Healthy eating is, again, a very important aspect of how consumers feel about their fitness, about their looks, what they wear, and in general, what they do. So what we will do is very quickly, considering the time, and obviously a lot of these points can require a lot of elaborative discussion. What are the 8-9 key trends which are basically kind of driving the whole athleisure segment? Expansion of non-sports brand, that's one of the key areas. So there, a couple of years back, or probably even a decade back, you would only have people Nike, Adidas, the sportswear brands driving the whole athleisure segments. But now if you really look at people like H&M, Forever 21, and pretty much every clothing big, larger brand is trying to focus on this segment. And actually, we expect over the next 4 or 5 years, the non-sports brand will have a higher share of the athleisure market when compared to the sports brands. Social media and digital media will play a very, very strong role. As I said very clearly, Gen Z and millennial, a very large population base, as close to 60%, very selfie-driven population. At the same side, very much conscious about their looks, whether it is within an office, whether it is at home, whether it is out of the home. So that's something which will continue driving the whole segment across clothing and footwear, and more importantly, the whole athleisure segment. Styling in store, and I think, so Saloni did run a video which was pretty important, and I think I wanted to do that, but the time was short. But you could see, it's important how you connect to these consumers. Again, the whole population base is important, but designing the store, making it much more personalized, using technology as an enabler is a very important thing, especially in connecting to these consumers. Now, when we look at the other areas like food and beverage and beauty, I keep talking about people about educating consumers. So if you really look at it, I won't dive on to that point now, but if you really look at it in the whole clean eating, clean, healthy environment, people talk about organic, fortified, natural, but if you go and speak to people, they will have multiple different definitions of these segments, and they probably sometimes don't understand them. Similarly, in case of athleisure, it's about how you connect to the consumer, how you educate them. Okay, why should they buy a cloth? Why should they buy this fitness apparel? How would it help them? So again, in the one of the picture, it was showing, okay, smart fitness apparel, which basically helps you in monitoring your health. Again, how does it help you? You need to educate the consumer. Demand for multi-purpose wardrobe, as I said, again, it's no longer, the athleisure segment probably 2-3 years back was more about fitness regime only at the end of the day. But it's no longer that. It's basically about what you're wearing at any point of time, at any stage of the day, whether it's going for a meeting, whether it's attending an early morning meeting, or it's just casually dressing. So again, a multi-wardrobe features or multi-wardrobe functions will be very important when brands are looking in targeting this specific segment. And I would say cross generally a lot in Asia Pacific. Sustainability, I would say, probably within the whole priority will remain a very strong focus area, but I would say that's a very strong focus area for brands. I think with consumers, what we have seen is if you speak to consumers and do a survey, they will say, oh, environment and sustainability is very important, but at the end of the day, when it comes to purchasing behavior, it's quite opposite. Brands should investing in communities. That will play a very important role, how they connect to the consumers. So again, Building communities via Instagram, connecting to influencers, connected to bloggers will be an important way of targeting these consumers. Especially for China, over the last 4 or 5 years, Chinese market was very well dominated by MNCs. Over the last 2 or 3 years, it's now very well getting dominated by the local players, and that will start happening a lot in China, a big market. And as Saloni said, probably in India, it'll be the other way around. You'll have a lot of MNCs, international brands coming in and targeting this specific segment. And just to summarize, considering the time, what are the 4, 5, 3 things which will keep happening or will keep driving this change? One is, can you make it much more personalized? Whether it is about weather, whether it is about, okay, going to a gym, can you make it personalized to an occasion? Enabling tech, can you put technology as part of your package and look at better innovation? So again, some of the examples Saloni talked about were pretty important, how innovative you could be in terms of the clothing products which you're supplying. And it will continue to create a blurriness between fitness versus normal casual clothing in general. So these 4 or 5 things will continue driving it. Again, considering the time, in case if you have any questions, feel free to meet me. We can actually discuss it in detail. Thank you so much.